All right, so this is what happened last time. Well, my camera crapped out before, so I started another session. Did the same thing on Friday when I did my first. So I don't know why it does it, but just hanging out here, and was going to talk a little more about Deep Purple and whatever else you guys want to talk about. I'm playing clean today. I'm clean and mean. Whoops. Hey, really smart. Thanks for coming back. thanks for hanging in. I don't know what it is. I guess my camera just has to warm up. It doesn't like the first time, so I'll pretend the first one never happened. And thanks for checking in. How are things in Toronto today? You know what? I can't. I don't know that one. I love Stevie Ray, but I just never I've never really learned to play any of his stuff. I think I told you guys on Friday that I saw him open for the Who in 1988, and it was awesome. So I love him. I just have never learned to play his stuff. I need to do that because he's definitely got some killer stuff. He's one of those guys that when I watch, I almost want to give up because I'm like, man, that guy is so good. Lightning. I love lightning. Did you get rain with it too, or was it just the lightning? Now, where I live in western or eastern Washington, it's fire season. So every year we have lots of forest fires around. And this year hasn't been as bad as other years. But, man, we hate to see lightning unless there's a lot of rain that comes with it because we can pretty much bet on new fires starting if we get dry lightning. But we get some good lightning shows around here occasionally. Haven't had any recently. I love Stevie Ray Vaughan, though. I got to learn some. Now I got to go learn some. You did mention that. And, man, that would have been – okay, so that was Stevie Ray Vaughan. I've gone back and watched Austin City Limits from like 85 where Stevie Ray was on. I think that was the first time he was on. And then he did another one in like 88. And it's awesome. I have it on VHS somewhere. It is awesome. He was phenomenal. And that would have been a great show. Hi, Laura. I love Uli John Roth. In fact, I made a quick trip to Montana over the weekend and was listening to Uli John on the way. Now, his albums suffer from his vocals. So that's kind of off-putting. I hate to say it. That's kind of off-putting. I love the way he plays. He's phenomenal. But on his first few albums, he sang too, and he's not such a good singer. But I love him. I've seen on YouTube, there's a few concerts that are recent, like within the last 5 years or so, where he's got a band and a singer, and it is phenomenal. And Uli John is great. I mean, what is the classic Sales of Sharon? How do you pronounce it? Sales of Sharon. I love that song. Da-da-da, da-da-da. He and this is nothing against Matthias, who came after, because Matthias is good in his own way, but Uli John was just, he was phenomenal. He was like from another planet, and he never gets the respect he should get, I think. He's one of the great guitar players, and he's really good, really smart. I did watch that video of Steve Earle and his son, and it was awesome. I did see that. That was great. Thank you for sharing that. And just a tragedy. I have 7. I don't know if I mentioned, I have 7 kids. My oldest is 26, 25, 26. And my youngest is 12. And I can't imagine as a parent going through that, losing a child. And that's just tragedy. But thank you so much for sharing that. Oh man, I can't, the Scorpions are such an interesting band, and you get the whole Michael Schenker thing in there, and it would have been very interesting. If the original band stayed together, though, think about this, meaning original band with Michael, there maybe never would have been an Uli John in Scorpions. So I don't know. That's a very interesting thing to think about, because Uli John and Michael are both awesome, but both very different. I don't know that they could be in the same band together, to be honest, because they're both very, they're both very headstrong, both very, I don't know if they'd work together. I don't know. That's an interesting thing to think about. Jabs is great. Rudy's great. And here's what makes me sad about the whole Scorpions Michael thing, and you guys have probably seen this, is every time you see an interview with Michael, he's just talking bad about Rudolph. And I get tired of hearing that. And you don't hear Rudolph talking bad about Michael. So I don't know what the deal is. And I think that Michael, I think he's one of the top 5 greatest guitar players ever. He may be my favorite guitar player, but I also think he might be crazy. I mean, he might be. His whole history is plagued with self-destructive behavior, bad decisions that he's made. So I don't know. Rudolph has stuck with the Scorpions and has been a lot more stable. And here's the thing that Michael doesn't talk about. Rudy took Michael in, and Michael lived with Rudy for a number of years when Michael was going through a rough patch. So I hate to see that happen. Sales of do you pronounce it Sharon, Sales of Sharon, whatever it's called. I love that. I love that song. And of course, Michael Schenker's the best. Jabs is great too. I mean, they've been blessed with a lot of great guitar players. Alice Cooper opening for Scorpions. That would have been interesting. Yes, and Rudolph is very classy. He does not talk bad about Michael, but Michael talks bad about him all the time. This is funny. Alice Cooper as a person, I love Alice Cooper. I seriously do. Whenever there's an interview with Alice Cooper, I watch it because I love him. I think he's so smart, and I just really like him. I just don't dig his music that much. I wish I liked his music more. It's not bad. And, School's Out and 18 and all of that. Those are great songs, classic songs. But I just don't get into his music as much as other people. But as a person, I love Alice Cooper. He's one of my favorites. I just wish I liked his music a little better. But he's one of these guys that he's a good judge of talent, and he always surrounds himself with great musicians. But I've never been a super huge fan of his. But I love him as a person. I think he's great. I mentioned I did a review of the new not Scorpions, the new Deep Purple album called Whoosh, and that's on the channel. And I've been listening to that more, and also going back and listening to the recent Deep Purple albums. And guys, it's really good stuff. I every time I've been going on a drive in the last few days, I've been listening to Deep Purple. I mean, recent Deep Purple since 2000, right? I say recent, that's a 20-year period, but the history, they've been around a long time, and I just really like it. It's very, it's just solid music. I like it. All the musicians are awesome. Steve Morse is awesome. It's good stuff. Yes, Laura, Alice seems very cool. His music is just okay. That's exactly the way I feel about it. And yes, he's on, and that's where I listen to Alice Cooper. It's a syndicated show, probably the same show you're talking about. And Kim Mitchell, I have heard his show before, and I even had his record. Might as well go for a soda. Wasn't that Kim Mitchell? I think so. Yeah, I had that. I have that LP around somewhere, and that was a great song. Really smart. I'm going to have to check that out. Ballad of Dwight Fry, Second Cup. I'm going to have to check it out. And maybe I should give him another listen, but I've just never been a huge fan of his music, though I really like him. I think he's really cool. And he does a lot of cool stuff. I mean, he's always involved in some awesome charity. He lives in Arizona and around Phoenix and Mesa, and he's always very involved in the community. He and Glenn Campbell, he and Glenn Campbell, which is funny, but they were like really good friends and played golf together and played music. I mean, imagining Alice Cooper and Glenn Campbell playing together seems funny, but they were good friends. They both lived in that Phoenix area and were good friends. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to have to look up Kim Mitchell and find some live stuff on YouTube. That's what's so great about YouTube. You can look those things up and watch those. Yeah, check out the new Deep Purple. Child in Time is awesome. Perfect Strangers is awesome. Just last night, I was watching, it was promoting their last studio album, which was 2017. I think it was called, it's spelled Infinite, but I think they pronounce it Infinite is what they call the album. But last night, it's a BBC in concert. I watched the whole thing last night, and they didn't do Child in Time, but they did do Perfect Strangers. And that's a great song, man. It's a great song. And they did a great job on the concert last night. So Laura, where are you at? What neck of the woods are you in? You're not in Canada also, are you? You know, I can't have too many Canadians on one call. That's a rule. I don't think you can have too many Canadians on one call. I'm kidding, of course, really smart. Okay. Gotcha. Okay. So that's the cool thing about going to concerts is you sometimes see bands that you wouldn't necessarily choose to go see, but then you're introduced to them. Let me give you a good example. Northern California. Awesome. I was in Northern California last summer, way Northern California in the Redwood Forest. You know, there's a, some in Oregon and then down into California. So we were checking that out. It was awesome. Max Webster. Now I've heard about Max Webster actually in my Rush group, one of the Rush Facebook groups that I'm in. They talk about Max Webster a lot because either they toured with Rush or Rush was fans of, but Max Webster comes up a lot. So I'm going to have to check them out. But back to this idea of opening bands. This is not this is kind of along those lines, but when I was would have been my sophomore year in high school, I had a chance to go see Billy Squier. And I wasn't, again, I wouldn't have bought tickets. I wouldn't have thought to go see Billy Squier, but my friend had an extra ticket and said, hey, let's go see Billy Squier. And I said, okay. And I went, and the opening band was Saga. Remember Saga? Another great Canadian band, by the way, really smart. I'm such a big supporter of the Canadian people. Saga was the opening band, and they rocked. They were awesome. And and then Billy Squier, to this day, one of the best concerts I've ever seen. And again, I didn't know what to expect. I mean, I knew his songs. That was right when Everybody Wants You had just come out. Da-na-na, da-na. That had just come out. But the concert was phenomenal. Saga was phenomenal. And so both of those bands, after that concert, I went out and bought their stuff. And it was really good. Yeah, Billy Squier was great. Geddy Lee sang on a Max Webster song called Battle Scar. Okay, I'm going to check that out. Laura, have any of you heard of Ningen Isu? I'm not sure how you pronounce that. I think you would dig them. Okay, I'm going to check them out. Yeah, Saga. I really liked Saga. Canada does have a great tradition of classic rock bands. We talked about that on Friday. Just the sheer number of awesome Canadian bands. Some of my favorite bands, as I look at it, are from Canada, and that's awesome. So here's a piece of trivia that might win you a contest sometime. Neil Young is from Canada. You'll never guess who was in a band with Neil Young in the early days. Another famous performer was in a band with Neil Young up in Canada. Someone you would never guess who would play with Neil Young. But it's true. I'll give you the answer. Rick James. Remember? Super Freak, Rick James. Oh, Laura knew it. Awesome. Good. She popped that up right as I was saying Rick James. Isn't that the funniest thing? Can you imagine? What would that band have looked like? Oh yeah, guess who? Steppenwolf, Neil Young, Gordon Lightfoot. I forgot about Gordon Lightfoot. Bryan Adams. Loverboy. Did you get the answer? As Rick James played with Neil Young. Rick James. But yeah, a lot of great Canadian bands. I mentioned Honeymoon Suite. I really liked Honeymoon Suite back in the 80s. They were pretty good. Triumph, love Triumph. So many good bands from Canada. And of course, Laura, you guys have the monopoly of great bands from California. About 90% of them, right? That's awesome. Yeah, Laura has to change her name to Really Smart. Okay. That's great. I lived in California when I was a kid. I lived around Monterey. And I love California. I love Northern California. You couldn't pay me enough to live in Southern California, though. Sorry. But Northern California is beautiful, gorgeous. The Mynah Birds. Okay, never would have guessed. Okay, the Mynah Birds. Was that the name of the Neil Young, Rick James band, the Mynah Birds? And then you said, yes, Jimi Hendrix opened for the Monkees. Can you imagine that? Jimi Hendrix opening for the Monkees. All these little 13-year-old girls coming to see Davy Jones, and this guy comes out and sets his guitar on fire. Yeah, that would have been crazy. I would have loved to see Honeymoon Suite. And I think you mentioned Platinum Blonde before. Yeah, Platinum Blonde. That'd be great. Oh, you know who else that I didn't mention? One of my all-time faves. Pat Travers is from Canada. Pat Travers. Now that guy is phenomenal. I love Pat Travers. And he's one of these guys that's still out. He probably still plays 100 concerts a year. I've seen him a couple times coming through Spokane where I live. And he's awesome. He's great. And he's got to be 70, I'm guessing. But still just rocks. And yeah, of course, April Wine. April Wine. I used to know how to play. I used to know how to play some April Wine songs. I'm trying to think of them now. But I love April Wine. And yes, Rush opened for some bands that eventually opened for them, like Uriah Heep and a few others. They probably, I'm not sure if they ever opened for Cheap Trick. They might have, but Cheap Trick has probably opened for them. I don't know. That's a good question. It's so funny when you look at the 70s, especially, is it's kind of a small fraternity because all these bands toured together. So they all know each other. The guys in UFO knew. In fact, the liner notes of my favorite live album of all time is Strangers in the Night by UFO. And right in the liner notes, when they give special thanks, they thank Rush, and I think Blue Oyster Cult also, but they specifically call out Rush and Blue Oyster Cult. And you can find lots of pictures of the UFO guys with the Rush guys, and then the Rush guys with Kiss. And it's kind of funny that they, Rush with Ted Nugent or whoever, they're all kind of touring together. One of the funniest stories I heard was, I think it was Uriah Heep. When Uriah Heep was opening for Rush, this was in the middle of the Bathrobe era. So this is probably like on the Farewell to Kings tour or something, and Uriah Heep was opening for him. They stapled bath slippers out on the floor right in front of Geddy and Alex's microphones. They stapled these bath slippers to go along with their bathrobes that they were wearing. I just thought that was the funniest thing ever. Yeah, it's just funny to hear all those stories about the bands in the 70s that toured together because, they were on the road for months at a time. So I'm sure they got to know each other pretty well. There's an interview where Alex Lifeson is talking about Rory Gallagher, and Rory Gallagher was huge in England, not as big here. And I can't remember if Rory was opening for Rush or if Rush, I think Rory was opening for Rush, but Alex and Rory got to be pretty good friends. So it's just kind of cool to read those stories. Bruce Cockburn. Funny you mentioned Bruce Cockburn. One of my teachers from high school to this day is always, we're Facebook friends, and he will always post lyrics from Bruce Cockburn. So yeah, he's one of those great performers from Canada also. There's a lot of them, aren't there? Shania Twain, Celine Dion, Alanis Morissette, Amanda Marshall, Anne Murray, Jan Arden, Joni Mitchell, Katie Lang, Sarah McLachlan, Alana. Holy cow. Diana Krall's Canadian. I did not know that. I love her. She's awesome. I didn't know she was Canadian. That's cool. Rush. I'm playing clean today. I didn't want any distortion today. Telecaster, which I bought for $130, and it's a great guitar. Love it. I have a lot of guitars, and none of them are probably worth more than $400. I'm not a guitar snob at all. And you're right, it's Bruce Cockburn. I knew that actually. My teacher told me that. But I always call him Bruce Cockburn because that's how it's spelled. Okay, I'm going to play a Police song. Let's see if I can do it. It's kind of a stretch. Whoops. It's a really stretchy one up there. Haven't played that in a long time. Chilliwack. Gone, you've been gone so long. I remember Chilliwack. Yep. Favorite Rainbow song. I love Gates of Babylon. I like Stargazer. I like Man on the Silver Mountain. Oh, man, there's a bunch of good ones. I like Tarot Woman. I like, what else? Kill the King, Long Live Rock and Roll. Man, there's so many good ones. Yeah, you know, here's the thing with Rainbow is it's kind of like two different bands. They were the Dio era, you know, they did the three, I guess it was 3 studio albums, but then a live album with Ronnie James, and they're awesome. And then for Down to Earth, they brought Graham Bonnet in, and it was much more commercial. And then it kind of continued with Joe Lynn Turner in that kind of commercial direction. And I'm not saying that's bad. I love a lot of the stuff with Graham and with Joe Lynn Turner. It was just a lot different than what they were doing with Ronnie, and I like it all. And Richie Blackmore will even tell you, I wanted a more commercial sound. I wanted to hit it big. He loved Foreigner. And so, especially with Joe Lynn Turner, he basically kind of was modeling the band after Foreigner. And you kind of see that direction there. And it's good. It's good. It's just different. It was a lot different than what Ronnie was doing with the band. They used to call it the Black Sabbath game. It's kind of the 7 degrees of separation thing. But if you look at, there's this nexus of bands, right? You got Black Sabbath, you got Deep Purple, and pretty much every classic rock band you can connect to those two bands. Okay. And even, connect them across to each other, where you've got members of those bands have cross-pollinated, and we used to sit down and try and link bands together, and you could link some pretty crazy bands together. For instance, you could link Sammy Hagar. Let's see, who's Sammy Hagar played with? Sammy Hagar has played with Joe Satriani. Joe Satriani was in Deep Purple. Okay, so you can link Sammy Hagar to Deep Purple. Then if you can link them to Deep Purple, you can link them to Black Sabbath, because Ian Gillan did the Black Sabbath Born Again album. So you can link, and then of course they're all linked into Rainbow because, that was Richie's other band. So all of these classic rock bands, you can basically link into Black Sabbath or Deep Purple. It's a fun little party game to play. I was just exchanging messages with someone yesterday, and he reminded me how good old Black Sabbath was. I will look up the song he recommended. You know what? There's a guy on YouTube, small channel. It's called Lair of the Alchemist. Check out his channel. And he's like an expert on Black Sabbath. He has a Black Sabbath podcast called Into the Void. You might like listening to that. But it's great to go back and listen to those first Black Sabbath albums. They are so, and imagine the time. Imagine being 1970 and you put on that Black Sabbath album. You probably instantly had nightmares, right? But it's a really groundbreaking album. And I personally, I think Black Sabbath invented heavy metal. There's debate. Was Deep Purple? Was it Led Zeppelin? I think it was Black Sabbath, right? What bugs me is that Zeppelin never gets enough credit for their part in the origins of heavy metal. Well, I think they were important, absolutely. But they always say it's Sabbath and Purple, right? To me, Led Zeppelin should get more credit than Deep Purple, in my opinion. But absolutely. Same thing with Led Zeppelin, which was the one I was just listening to. Physical Graffiti, man. You just put that album on and it's a masterpiece, right? And I kind of feel the same way about the Black Sabbath Paranoid album. You just play through it, and it was completely unlike anything else at the time. Okay, unlike anything else at the time, and it's just incredible stuff. Did I miss anything? Earl. What is Earl, Laura? Should we know what that means? I'm trying to play Don't Fear the Reaper. Early Sabbath. Okay, Steve Earle. Okay, Early Sabbath. Yeah, Early Sabbath is interesting. Their first three albums, probably three of the greatest classic rock albums ever. And it's kind of sad, really, because you start to read the history of each of their albums, and the common thread of all of those albums, really, and it's kind of sad, it was substance abuse. It was, and they would say, yeah, we were really messed up on coke at that time, and that like was a recurring thing. That's why they fired Oz. Imagine being so out of it that Black Sabbath fires you. Okay, here's a band that like lived on cocaine and alcohol, and you get so bad that they fire you. That's how bad Ozzy was, and really kind of a shame because, and especially the last Black Sabbath album, not a very good album. That tour was not a good tour. They had this young band called Van Halen opening for him, who just blew him off the stage every night, and then they fired Ozzy, and yeah, it's kind of sad when you read about it. Just a waste, a waste of talent had they kept things in control. Fortunately, and that's one of the things that Ronnie James Dio did for them, is he came in and brought a new focus. Ronnie James Dio didn't have substance abuse problems. He kept it together, and all of a sudden, when that Heaven and Hell album came out, people were like, "Holy crap! This is like a whole new ball game for Black Sabbath," and it was awesome. So he really turned them around, and that Black Heaven and Hell, and then the Mob Rules albums those are probably my two favorite Sabbath albums, right? And they're both with Dio, but I love those. And I agree, really smart, that Pink Floyd and Rush, very good, very unique. I love, what I love to do is I love to lay down at night. This is with Pink Floyd, not with Rush. Rush I listen to in my car. Pink Floyd I listen to at night when I'm going to bed. Put my headphones on, listen to Dark Side, listen to metal, listen to Wish You Were Here. I just love those albums, and they're masterpieces, and it's just good stuff. It's great stuff. Yeah, it's like Keith Richards staging an intervention for you. Yeah, you're in bad shape when you show up. It's an intervention, and Keith Richards is there. Oh, we're worried about you. Yeah, that's great. Do you remember A Foot in Cold Water? Make Me Do Anything You Want. Also Canadian. No, that doesn't sound familiar to me, but I'll check that one out. So that's why I love doing these, is because every time I do, I get turned on to some new band or music that I wasn't aware of. So, whoops. There's the Rush chord. There's the famous first chord at the beginning of Hemispheres. Then it goes to an A somewhere. Yeah, I love Rush. That was a song I'd always play in the guitar shop. I never play Stairway. I haven't done this in... Man, I can't remember it. Zebra. I love Zebra. Styx. Oh, gosh, man. I love Styx. Remember this one? What is that? Queen of Spades. Oh, yeah, I love Styx. I love Castle Walls. I love Man in the Wilderness. All of that stuff is awesome. Sweet Madam Blue. Yeah. That's a stretch. Yeah, Styx is awesome. They were one of my favorites. I liked Supertramp, the Breakfast in America and all of that. I love that stuff. Okay, so if you guys are old enough to remember the, I don't know how old you are, Laura. I think Really Smart is old enough to remember this. I can't play Crystal Ball. I love that song, though. Now I got to go learn it. Are you old enough to remember the Columbia House Record Club? RCA had a record club too, but do you remember those? You get like 13 records for a penny if you agree to buy 8 more in the next 2 years or something. So this shows you how dumb I was. So I joined that when I was like 12 years old. You don't even want to know the first albums. I could probably tell. I could probably remember what they were. Okay, the very first order, mine wasn't 13. Mine was like you only got 7 or something, and then you had to order like 2 in the next 2 years or something. So the first ones I ordered, I got, Really Smart and I are the same age. We're both 53. My very first order, I got Breakfast in America, which that's a good one. Oh, man, Breakfast in America. Oh, Styx Cornerstone. I got that one was okay. But then I also got Eagles The Long Run. That one was okay. So I got 3 that were okay. What were the other ones? Some were embarrassing. One was a Village People. Yeah. And it wasn't even a good it was Village People soundtrack to Can't Stop the Music, which was like the biggest flop of 1980. I bought that. What else was on there? I got a Commodores one. Commodore's not too bad. Got a Commodores one. National Acrobat. It's a great song. That's on, is that on Sabotage? I think it's on Sabotage, right? I can't remember. I was just listening to that the other day. Guys, Spotify has changed my life because I have a lot of vinyl and I still like to pull out records and listen to vinyl, but I have a Spotify premium account. So when I drive a lot, so I'll just say, I want to listen to this, whatever, an album I might not own. I just put it on and listen to it. I want to listen to, this Alan Parsons album. So I'll listen to that, and it's nice to have that instant gratification. Moving pictures. Okay. The very first album I bought at the store was, you guys are going to see a pattern here. Village People. It was the one with Macho Man on it. I bought that one, and then I had 4 Village People albums. How does that happen? And my brother, who's like 3 years older than me, he was into Styx, and he was into Kiss, and he almost beat me up when I put one of the Village People albums had a poster in it. And so we shared a room. And so he comes home and there's this Village People poster on the wall, and he about beat me up. He's like, "What are you doing putting that crap up?" But fortunately, I got more into the rock phase by the time I was about 13. By the time 8th grade rolled around, I wasn't buying Village People anymore. I got at Boston. I bought the Boston album. My first Rush album was actually 2112 in 1980. I heard it in 80 at a friend's house. I went out and bought it, and then I bought All the World's a Stage, and then I bought Moving Pictures, and then I started filling it in from there. Moving Pictures was great. First 45 I bought was Photograph by Def Leppard. I was a big Def Leppard fan. My first Def Leppard album I got was High and Dry, and I bought it right when it came out in 81. 81. I actually bought it as a new release, and then went back and bought On Through the Night, and then Pyromania came out, and I bought that. Those are the only 3 that I own. I never bought Hysteria, which, not that I don't like it. I just never bought it. But I love Pyromania. I saw them on that tour, and they had a band opening for them called the John Butcher Axis. Have you ever heard of John Butcher? Really good guitar player. But I saw them. It was great. But yeah, I was just listening to National Acrobat. It's from Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath. Okay, you're right. Okay, I was listening to that. That's a good album. That has some good stuff. Volume 4 is good too. But I really think the first 3 Sabbath albums are my favorite. Funky Town. That was Lips Inc., right? Talk about it. And then Pseudo Echo in 88 did a remake of that. I know that because I was working in radio then. Pseudo Echo, the remake of Funky Town. But I like the original better. I liked Funky Town. We always played that at the high school dances, and that got everyone up on the floor. Speaking of Canadians, Turn the Beat Around. Absolutely. Yeah, that's a great song. Okay. I used to know how. I used to know Magic Power, but I can't remember. By Triumph. Got to go back and relearn that now. Robin Trower, Bridge of Sighs, and what is it? What's the other one off of that album? Something about a rolling stone. I can't remember, but I love Bridge of Sighs, and I love Robin Trower. And Robin Trower's still out playing, and he's old. I mean, he's like 80 years old or something, but he's really good. Yeah, that's a good one. I really love that. You know who else I really loved from the early 70s on was Montrose. Speaking of California, right? Because they were a Bay Area band. But I loved Love Montrose. That, of course, To Rolling Stone. That's the one. I love that. He was also in A Wider Shade of Procol Harum. Yeah. He was also in that band too. So yeah, Robin Trower he's really good. Yeah, really good. Well, guys, I'm going to have to wrap up. I got to go buy groceries. How's that for domesticated? I got to go do some grocery shopping for my wife. So thanks so much. I know that it's just been the few of us, but I'm trying to get in the habit of doing more live streams, just because first of all, they're kind of fun. I like to talk to people. When you just post videos, you don't really get any feedback or response. So it's cool when you can actually talk to people. So I appreciate you guys coming on and chatting. So you guys take care and be safe. Laura, are you near the fires? Are there fires near where you are? Thanks, Laura. Are there fires near where you're at? And Really Smart, thank you. Really Smart was on the last time, so I really appreciate Really Smart. He's a repeat customer. Well, be careful around the fires. It's probably real smoky where you are, so be careful. So man, between fires and COVID, you'll be wearing masks forever out there. That's crazy. All right, guys. Well, thank you both so much, and appreciate it. And we'll see you next time. Okay. Yes, definitely check him out. Really Smart. Check him out. He's a phenomenal guitar player. If you're a fan of the blues rock, Jimi Hendrix type, Stevie Ray Vaughan type, you will dig Robin Trower. He's awesome. Really good. If you like Joe Bonamassa, yeah, you'll dig that. So thanks, guys. We'll see you later. All right. Take care. Bye-bye. Yes, please do. Really Smart. That's very helpful. Thanks a bunch. Bye-bye.